Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Bowhunter Chronicles podcast brought to you by Tacticam. Tacticam is by far the easiest way to begin filming your hunts. Whether it's the budget-friendly solo or the 4K 5.0, Tacticam has something for every ability level. Check them out at tacticam.com. And we are also working with Spartan Forge this year. Spartan Forge, if you recall, we had Bill on talking about artificial intelligence in the deer hunting realm. So he's taking insurance company information for car deer accidents, historical weather data, collared deer studies, you name it. Any information that's out there on deer movement is being put into this giant algorithm with billions of data points to figure out the best days to be in the woods. And it's in the beta testing right now. We're using it, and it's very interesting. I've been looking at it. We're going to talk a little bit about that in our next podcast when we recap our season. But you can check that out at spartanforge.ai and see if it's something that can help you. spartanforge.ai. This week's episode, we're talking with our friend Adrian Wilson, Big A Sports. You may have seen him on the Tethered Nation YouTube, Hunting Public YouTube, Catman YouTube, but he's just an all-around great guy, fun, funny. We always have a fun time talking with him, and I know you guys are going to like this episode because I'm laughing when I'm editing it up, so it's going to be a great one for you. We got to give a shout-out to our Patreons. You know, Patreons directly fund the show. They donate a small amount of money every month, and we put them in a drawing for giveaways. Now, for the Patreons, I would try and give away a pack. I want to give away a Mystery Ranch Metcalf, but I called Mystery Ranch. They don't have any in stock, and they're not going to have any in stock until after the middle of January. And if anybody in their workplace or anything has been dealing with supply chain issues, like when they say, oh, yeah, it's going to be this time, it rarely is. So I don't want to count on that. We are going to be giving away a set of rain gear from Badlands. So I may add in one of the Badlands packs. I'm going to take a look at their lineup and see. I know that they've got a convertible meat hauling pack, so I may throw one of those in as well. But we're going to be giving away a pack of some sort. So if you're interested in that, you can check that out at patreon.com/Bowhunter Chronicles podcast. We also give away a base map package. So base map pro package, and then a swag pack with a hat and a t-shirt and everything. And if you're interested in base map, I mean, for $30 a year, it's really hard to beat. The functionality, their hunt wind, I literally use that on every single hunt. And every time I'm thinking about hunting, what you do is you do it just like you do any other mapping software, but you drop a stand or a blind or either one of those icons and you can set the wind. Then it gives you a visualization of the wind that day, hour by hour, and then you can look at the next 7 days and it'll show you what way the wind is coming out of, so you can see exactly where it's blowing on there. And if you're interested in that, like I said, it's $30 a year for their pro package, but you can use code Chronicles online and save 20%, so it ends up being less than $25. It's $24 for the entire year, so it's definitely worth checking out. And they give away free stuff every week. They've got a game to help you use the software and to use the app. You can check that out at basemap.com. It's super cool. Definitely worth it. But we give away a year subscription to that as well, to our Patreons. So, and then for the Patreons, I just did put in that order for the sweatshirts. I'll probably have a few extras left over. So if anybody's interested in sweatshirts or t-shirts, I've got some of those. But I did put the order in, so we'll be getting those here in the next couple weeks or so. But like I say, this episode is a fun one. I know you guys are going to like it. Thanks for listening. Enjoy the episode. Hey everybody, Adam and John back with another episode of the Bowhunter Chronicles podcast. I had to pause there because John is here. I had to think about it. I'm at his house, but I was like, yep, John's here. He's back from the UP. He's back from hunting. We're going to have to do another podcast with Uncle Frank talking about the last little bit of our season and John's trip to the UP. And the next podcast that comes out, we're just talking about it, is going to be called Saddle Hunting Cost Me a Buck. And that's going to be for all the detractors. But that's another podcast for another day. So stay tuned for next week's podcast. But today we are back with one of our favorite people, one of my favorite people, Billy Currington once again, Madison Baumgartner, Adrian Wilson, call him what you want.
Boom.
How you doing?
What's up, guys? Big A Sports here. Matty Baumgartner. Just a plethora of names going on.
Oh, man.
Oh, goodness. You guys. I mean, and it's you, because it's not John, because he ain't going to say nothing. So I don't know.
I was going to sing a song for you, but that's your job, actually. So.
No.
Oh, man. So lots of things. I mean, so me and Adrian talk quite a bit, I'd say. Not lately. He's been kind of big timing me, I think, because he's
big timing you.
He's, you'll see him. He's posting pictures with the hunting public, and his right hand cat man. He's doing all that, and then he was getting filmed by Tethered. He says, I'm too good to film myself, but if you all want to send me a cameraman, I'll take it.
That's not too good. That's just lazy in my end. I mean, I was talking. Shoot. I hate to even say this because, name dropping, but I mean, Tethered, Taylor Chamberlain. We're all Tethered guys, so he's sitting there telling me last Friday, dude, you need to self-film. And I'm just like, it's just not me. We've talked about this a few times. I think on the last podcast I did with you guys, we talked about it. It's just not I would love to have the recordings of that stuff, but I can't multitask to begin with. And so being in the woods and losing focus of what I'm really there for on this camera stuff, plus it's just more gear and weight, and that's why I became a saddle hunter in the first place, to get rid of that sort of stuff. So it's just not for me right now. So Taylor's like, dude, okay, here's what we're going to do. You film it, though, and you just send it to me, and I'll do the hard part, and I'll edit it for you, and then I'll put it on my urban page. I'm like, geez, thanks. That guy. But no, it's just not for me. I wish it was. I really wish I had more drive for that, and for the guys that are actually doing it. I mean, golly, I think it's phenomenal. Phenomenal. I mean, like you said Catman a while ago. I see the stuff that guy goes through, and he works his tail off to get the video he does, but he's constantly videoing, and I just don't think I can do it. Or no, I don't want to do it. I don't want it to cost me. I don't want it to cost me something.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. I've been toting this damn camera around and the arm and all the bullshit that goes with it. And now, when I was out west, I didn't do anything with the big camera, but I was worried about, I had the Tacticams and the GoPro, and trying to get everything, recorded and doing these videos. And it was I got caught up in that, and there was so much pressure. And then I get home and I start carrying the big camera, and I haven't had a shot at a deer yet, but I shot at a coyote when I was up in the UP, and just trying to deal with the camera and then the arm I've got, we're still trying to work out some bugs with that. And so the camera keeps drifting. And so I'm dinking around trying to get the camera to stay in the spot where it's supposed to be. And then, I get my shot and I just blew it. I rushed it freaking, and I'm like, and I told Adam afterwards, I'm like, I think this camera shit is screwing up my system, and then, so the next time we go out, I end up dropping the base for the camera arm. So I'm like, well, I guess I'm not filming tonight. But then I'm sitting there thinking I should have the camera. And it's what the hell's wrong with me? Either you want it or you don't.
I think that's that's part of anytime, in my opinion, this is again my opinion, anytime you add more dynamics to what you're doing, there's room for error. And I know my limitations, and I have very, very many. And I know that if I'm up there and I'm trying, because I want to be perfect at all that I do, and I'll always fall short, but I'll give it my dangest. And so if I'm sitting there trying to mess with the camera and making sure something's on film and doing all this stuff, I'm gonna miss out on a deer that walks by, or I won't notice it till it's last minute, and my luck it'll be the biggest booner I've ever seen in my life with the naked eye, and I'm gonna be sitting there with what do I have? Oh, I might have him on camera. Well, at the end of the day, I don't care that it's on camera. I want to have my hands around that thing's horns, and I just know, and that's for me. I'm going to, and I'm not being a pessimist here. I'm a positive person. I think you guys know that. But again, I know my limitations, and I don't want something to get in the way that of my end game result of I like to kill stuff. Bottom line, and have it in my hands, and then be able to partake and eat and have all this good food and experience. At the end of the day, I hate that I can't do it, but I just know what I'm good at and what I'm not. And that's something a non-multitasking son of a gun like myself would fail miserably, is what I think.
Yeah, I was talking with my brother-in-law, and it's kind of funny. I was kind of alluded to it with John. We were out hunting with Frank recently, and his son Chris, my brother-in-law, he shot his 4th deer ever of his whole life, his 3rd one with a bow this year, and he's 35 years old or something like that. And so he and I had both killed deer this year, and Frank hasn't, and he's killed hundreds of deer over the course of his his career. And we were talking about filming, and I'm like, I'm like the least in our group, in our crew, from the podcast. Like, I mean, other than Chris, I guess, but he's not filming. But I'm like the least likely guy to kill a deer, and like I'm carrying the camera and doing all this stuff, and then I've just happened to, I feel like, get lucky,
Yeah.
But it's like when I talked to Parker, I had him on the podcast. He says, when I started this thing, he said, I know I'm a good enough hunter, and I wanted to start filming this stuff. And he's like, I know I can kill deer. I didn't need a podcast to help me kill deer or whatever,
Right.
And it wasn't him being arrogant at all. I mean, Parker.
I know Parker well. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not his thing. But I was like, fuck, man, I'm not a good hunter. Like, I'm not good at any of this. So, like, I don't have that, like, perfectionist, like, mentality. Like, well, everything has to be perfect or, like, whatever. Like, everywhere I go, I just try and put myself into a position to, I have a terrible mindset, and I'm getting better, but I'm just, like, my goal is, like, I just want to see a deer. That makes it a successful hunt for me. And then to have one within bow range,
you're in a different area of the country than me too. With you being in Michigan and the pressure that, I was up there last year hunting. I know what the pressure is up there. Not that I don't have it down here, but it's just I don't think it's anything like what yours is. And so everybody's different. I'm sorry. I'm sure I just cut you off, and I don't mean to. I was just jumping in to say that. What your result that you're looking for. You said you're wanting to see. You just want to see deer, and I think different people obviously have different mindsets there, what they want. And I'm not here. Here's the deal, and I think we might have said this last time too. I'm not looking for a trophy every time I go out and hunt. That would be awesome, but I'm realistic too. I've never, out of all the bucks I've killed, I think I've scored one of them or had it scored. I don't know what the score of my deer are. When I see it, I either know, hey, I like it, I want to shoot it, or I don't. I don't care. I don't get caught up in that. What makes me happy is being out there and enjoying the nature and the experience or the rush and things of that nature. So anyway, Mr. Miller, my apologies. Go ahead and finish what you were saying.
It's Dr. Miller, but you go ahead. Just to be clear. But no, I mean, like I'm like you know when you say that, it's just one of those things where you say that like you try to be perfect, and don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm not. I've definitely evolved, and I'm not the guy that just wants to go out and see deer that like Dan Infalt says that you sit on the edge of a cornfield just to watch them out there, you know. But like I put myself in spots where like it's that where you might not see a deer. So
Right.
when you pick the spot and you do you go through all the trouble to get out there and figure it out, and then it pans out, and you see deer and you got them in bow range. I mean, that to me, like passing deer also,
Yeah.
like,
Yep.
and have them not have any idea that you're there is like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's the ultimate. I know that I've said that before on here,
But no,
but
that's a rush, man. It's like um, and when I said I'm a perfectionist, and for me, I'm never going to be perfect, and I don't. It's more of a figure of speech. I just want to be the best I can be, or do the best I can. Like I would say, when it comes to your career and your job, you want to do a good job. You strive to do well. Same thing with hunting. Like I'll never be the best, and I don't care if I am. I really don't. That's never been a thought in my mind. I want to be the best for me, though, and that might be a bunch of notches down for some other guys. Because um, for me, when I say the best, it's more of a mindset, really. I love hunting. It makes me happy. That's part of being the best for me. I'm going to do what makes me happy. So if I can go out and I'm not going to sit here and beat myself up and down if I make a bad move, or I take the wrong route to go in, and I misread the wind, or something like that. Like it doesn't like I'm not that guy to where I'm super anal about that. But I'm just, it's more of a figure of speech. Me, I'm a perfectionist, like from the sense of also like, we've talked about this. I was a high school basketball coach for 18 years. I took pride in working really hard to get better, and that's what I just want to do as a hunter. I just want to get better and learn. Like when you say that, just having a sit where you're able to see deer, and yeah, that was my mindset at one time. Now, I'm hunting. I'm trying to get some big deer now, and I'm happy to see deer. Of course, yeah, that's very exciting. But the way I'm hunting, I'm trying to find the freshest buck sign, and things of that nature. So for me, just to see a buck that is in the caliber of what I'm looking for, that's kind of more, I guess, up my alley right now.
And I mean, so I want to get into your season because you and I had talked about coming on and talking about that bear hunt, but you had some ups and downs earlier in the year, and then you just murked the whole family of deer yesterday or a couple days ago. So we can talk about that too. But one thing real quick, just on the gear side, you're one of the few people. So and we'll get into it with the bear thing, but like, we talked to Jason Red with the carbon fiber sticks with the Timber Ninja, but so you're running those sticks, but you've also actually had in your hands and played around with the tethered one stick. So, and there's not a lot of people. I mean, so I like to be really up on and have like firsthand knowledge of all of the climbing systems, but anything really. That's why I got so many damn saddles. But I mean, when you're talking, the unicorns, those are the tethered ones at this point, and then the Timber Ninjas at $150 a stick or something like that. To just buy a set to try out is outside of most people's realm. So let's get your insight on those two.
Well, so I've got extensive experience with the carbon Timber Ninja sticks, carbon fiber. I'm gonna tell you, I love them. I had those before I ever touched our tethered one sticks. I still don't own those. I have hunted with them here in the last week, and I touched them, I guess, in late July or August. But the Timber Ninja sticks is I've got 4 of them, all with the movable aider, and they are, golly, that cable aider that comes down that you can pull out. I love that joker. I mean, I think that that has really been nice because I was always using a movable aider anyway. But I love that. I love the fact that the Timber Ninja sticks are so stinking light. Like I've never touched another stick that was that light. And the fact that there's no metal there. Like if they clang together by accident, it just sounds like someone is got a set of rattling horns kind of popping them together a little bit. So you got multi uses there for those sticks if you drop them. You sound like you're rattling something in. I've got the 20-inch version of those. I've been very, very pleased with them. I'll say that. Now, the tethered 1 sticks are they're a little bit lighter, but at some point, come on, they're sub 1 pounds. I think the Timber Ninjas is like 1.2. I can't sit there and say, oh, I can tell a difference because I can't. When you're holding one versus the other. The tethered ones are, I love the step on those things. I'm a big fan of our Predator platform, and I know a lot of guys that actually will not take a platform because they are looking to be uber light and they'll stand on their sticks, which I could never do that personally. But guys that would do that, I think this stick would be money for them. That I think it's 3.5 inches of depth there, maybe, and my calculations could be off there, but I'm pretty sure it's something very similar to that. And they're the way they attach to the tree with, and I don't know the term that, forgive me for that, for being a part of Tethered, not knowing the term of how we're the buckle or whatever it's called, that where you tie those things to the tree with the am steel. That's an ingenious thing in my opinion. It's a really quick, I was actually having this conversation yesterday with one of my buddies. He was like, we were talking about the Muddy Pros. Those have been my favorite sticks of all time. They're just so daggum heavy because you got that cam cleat. And we're talking about how quick and easy it is. And I was like, dude, I've always thought the same thing. But the 1 stick with that little buckle where you what's it called? What do you have on like the boat docks that you take and
like a cleat?
wrap the rope around?
It's just a cleat.
Yeah, like a cleat. I was just trying to think of
some fancier,
the proper word. I guess that's it. So anyway, yeah. But that cleat is awesome. It's not going to move. And a lot of guys ask, can you put an aider on it? Yes, you can. I had a 5-step aider that I generally use no matter what sticks I have, because actually it might be a 6-step aider. I've had it for years. I take my first stick to the tree and I put it up as high as I can on the tree. And then I put that 5-6-step aider I have, and I use that just for extra height. And then, with the cable aiders I use in the Timber Ninjas, I'm getting really high. But I think that the biggest thing that I would do with the 1 sticks that it seems like the people that have them or getting them that are doing is putting some kind of sound deadening tape or whatnot around them. There's different stuff out there for that, stealth wrapping it. But I would do that because so you won't have the metal on metal contact. But here's the 2 biggest things with the 1 stick. The room you have on the step away from the tree is awesome. And how compact those jokers pack up. They're so tight. And it's crazy that you can have 3 or 4 of those sticks and they weigh less than maybe 2 Muddy Pros. You know what I'm saying? That's crazy. So I love them both. I really do. I think they both got their pros and cons. and then what it comes down to is the individual person using it.
Because John, you were looking at the Timber Ninjas, right?
Yeah.
That's what you were saying.
If I could spend the money on sticks right now, those would probably have been the ones. Those were the ones I was going to get. But I mean,
well, and the thing with the tethered one sticks, you called them the unicorn. It seems like we did release that they're coming out here, and then you got all this COVID stuff going on. It's putting a damper on a lot of people. And I'm not making excuses, but we got a few in, and they thought that it'd be best served to let some of the pro staff members have first crack at those, and that's what's happened. So I don't have any yet. Like I said, I did hunt last week. I was in Kentucky hunting with Greg Godfrey, actually Parker McDonald, and some of our other friends. And Greg had he let me use his up there on a few hunts, and just to see what it was going to be like. And I liked them. I liked them fine. I think them with what they bring and their stackability and all those things, I think it's a huge home run in the stick world. And but it's going to come down to personal preference between those and something like the Timber Ninjas. And I'm not sure 100%. And if I was, I don't know that I'd be able to say anyway. But I know that Timber Ninja is always working on improving and bettering things. So seems like that guy's always got something going on, which I think is the right move in today's market. I mean, somebody's always coming out with something bigger and better. So he's not stuck on what he's got. If he sees room for improvement, that's what he's going to do. And I think that's a good move on his part.
So you have you're friends with the Timber Ninja. I think it was rumored at one time that you guys had like a romantic relationship as well.
No, you're getting me confused with Billy Currington again. I think him and Billy might have had that. And since we favor a little bit, but I mean, when it comes down to it, I'm 6'5", and that joker, I mean, I'm living right outside of Nashville, and I'm pretty sure he's around 5'9" or 5'10". He's a little guy like John is, so people get that confused.
Oh, okay. All right. But so you were up there with him on a bear hunt then, and that's what we were initially going to talk about, way back when, and then we got big time. We got rolled over.
What's big? Like, what are you even referring to?
I'm just messing with you.
I know.
You got your high profile.
I can take it. I can
list
take
of
it.
friends.
I can take it because I'm going to dish it. So Jason Red, Timber Ninja, we've been friends for about a year now, and we've gotten pretty tight. He's a great dude. Here's a fun fact that nobody really cares about, but we happen to realize we have the same birthday as well. How about that?
That's true. I remember that.
But man, he's a good dude. So he offered this past maybe February, March, somewhere in there. Talked about coming up and doing a bear hunt. He lives in Nashville, North Carolina. I'm just south of Nashville, Tennessee. We don't have bears here. I've never been on a bear hunt. I thought it'd be an awesome experience, so I wanted to come up and bow hunt for bears, and so that's been planned. And
isn't Asheville like the hipster capital of the world?
If it's not, it's real close. I mean, I'm going to tell you, I enjoy that area. It's beautiful, and there's a lot of different type of people in there. There's hipster, there's hippie, there's I can't even go on. I'm just gonna stop. But it's a cool place, though. I will say that.
Yeah. Go ahead. I was just thinking about like the climate there because when he said he was from Asheville, I was like, man, what a strange place to be, like, have a hunting company. You know what I mean? Like
to be the Timber Ninja.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
But I mean, come on, you Yankees up there in Michigan, you've never been there. You don't know it. Y'all think that we all probably live in log cabins down here. We build our own houses, and we're all married to somebody in our own family tree, which is nope. Anyway, I'm kidding. It's a
kidding.
cool area.
You are.
But here's what I learned being up in there. So it's the mountains. Like it is mountainous hunting. I've never experienced that. I've been, we got a lot of hills and hollers here in Tennessee, and but which I feel like I can run up and down all day. But so when I went there, I got up there on a Thursday evening, afternoon, and we were going to whitetail hunt from Thursday through Sunday because black bear season didn't open up to that Monday. So then I was going to hunt black bear that Monday, and that was the main goal, was to go black bear hunting. But the whitetail was icing on the cake. And I'm going to tell you, I thought I'd done a little hill and holler hunting, and I was good to go. Man, Jason Red, I'll say this, he's a beast. He's in shape as all get out, just because going up the mountains we were going up, I kept asking if we were there yet. I was like the little kid in the back of the car saying, are we there yet? Because I'm dying. I'm sitting there, and I don't feel like I'm in terrible shape. I know I'm not great, but I'm not terrible. I keep up with most, if not go further. I was struggling just to keep up with this guy. I felt like I was holding him back. Now, it's hot and everything like that, but I'll never forget the first place we walked to, he had a camera way back out in this is all public land. We walk about a mile and a half back, and this is going up and down mountainous stuff. And I was like excited when we got to that camera to see what we had and just to sit up and hunt. And he's like, man, I'm not seeing what I want to see. Plus, it looks like there's another hunter that's been in here in the last week, which I've never seen another person on this camera because most people won't come back here. He goes, let's get out of here and go someplace else. I'm like, huh? We just walked a mile and a half. We're hunting back here, Bubba. And he laughed. He's like, no, let's go on. So then we hike a mile and a half back out of there and go up to another place. I was like, now how easy is this to get to where you're thinking we need to be? He's like, well, I got some cameras on the backside of the property. It's not too bad. Dude, we went straight uphill for about 45 minutes before we got there. And I was just like, wow. So I've got a whole new respect for these guys that are actually mountain hunting. Now, I'm not talking about guys that happen to be in the mountains and then they go, drive up to their tree. I'm talking about guys that are walking in and out and hunting all that stuff. That's a different level, and there's a lot of appreciation for that. Needless to say, we hunted for whitetail, and it rained most of the time. A couple of days it rained most all day, so we didn't get out. But I did see some deer. Nothing in range. It was fun, just a good experience. And then that Monday we opened up with the black bear season, and a lot of people ask, what's it like hunting black bear, this and that, and how do you get them in, and what is Jason doing? He doesn't really black bear hunt. He's done it. He's got the bears there. No, this is actually on his property. He's got like 150 acres that butts up to a black bear sanctuary, which you cannot go into, obviously. But you're allowed to bait, and you're allowed to use dogs there in North Carolina for black bear. He doesn't do any either. And these are things I'm learning. I'm wondering how are you gonna get the bears in? And he runs some trail cameras, and he knows that these bears, they're kind of like deer. They're gonna sit there and feed on oak, off white oak trees, and stuff like that. Which I've never even thought of that, because I was like, are we gonna put up bait piles and all this? And he's like, I really don't do that. He goes, occasionally I'll put something out just to see what's around and get on camera, but he's setting up these cameras on areas that he'd be hunting deer in. So, excuse me, taking a bite of a little venison here.
Oh yeah, rub it in.
I haven't eaten tonight, so that's good. Um, anyway, so we go into his property. We're checking out some cameras, and there's this one camera. They all got bears on them. It's like 3 cameras, and he just put these on some fingers of some ridges that he's known. Like us again, a lot of oak trees in there. Well, this one bear has been in there every morning. He's like a 300 something pound bear, and me being a novice at all of this stuff, I don't know. I mean, 300 pounds sounds huge to me. I mean, 200 pounds sounds huge to me. So I didn't know the difference. But to see them, this 300-pound bear looked really like just a big old fat lard, like big old bear. So anyway, that's the bear I was going to go after. So we saw it on camera a couple of days. I knew how to get in there. I'd been in there a couple of times. I kind of picked out my tree for my saddle. And here's the story. So Monday morning comes. We're on the top of the ridge. Jason drops me off, and I walk down the gravel road to where the ridge goes out to this finger. And so me being, again, where I live, I've never had a fear of anything in the woods. Maybe a snake or something, like a poisonous snake or something like that, but not that something is going to be hunting me. Well, as I'm walking in, I'm sitting there thinking, these bears could hurt me, but I wasn't really that scared because, Jason's like, they smell you, they're gone. They get good senses and smell and all that stuff. So I'm thinking, I'm not worried anyway. They hear me, they're gonna run anyway. And then, so I go in. It's about an hour till first light, just making sure I was up and set and everything. Well, I get in there. I'm starting to look around with my headlamp to where that tree is, and you guys know what it's like to be in the dark and finding, that everything looks totally different. So that's why I gave myself more time, and it's a pretty easy area to get to. It's a straight shot down this finger. Well, I'm looking around and I'm seeing some things that look familiar, but I'm not seeing this tree. So then I started thinking, well, where's this camera at? Let me find that camera, because that kind of give me a landmark. Well, as I'm looking, I see these. My headlamp hits on these two lights off in the distance that are glowing, and we're in the mountains, so it's not uncommon to see lights from cabins and other stuff far off in the distance, shining through the night. But the weird thing was these 2 lights I'm looking at are green, and I'm like, that's odd. And next thing it just hits me. These lights, they moved. And then it hits me for sure. Oh my goodness, that is a bear looking at me. I've never seen a bear at night anyway, looking at me, and my lamp is hitting his eyes, and they're green. It's like something you see in a horror movie, because this bear's black. Everything out there is black at this point, except for my light. And the glow of his eyes, and it's not as far off as I thought. Like, I'm thinking this is a cabin on the other side of the mountain, and this joker is like 50 yards away. And I'm thinking, well, Jason said they're going to run, and it ain't running. And then I remember why he told me they don't run. If they don't run, they got cubs or they got food. And I'm thinking, it's too dark, and I don't even know what this joker has, and it ain't running. And I'm thinking I might be the food. So I'm sitting here trying to call him, and he ain't answering his phone, because, again, our service is sketchy up here in the mountains, and he ain't answering. So usually I'd have a firearm on me. I carry one most of the time, but I didn't have one. All I could do was try to fight to get my release out of my bag, and I got my bow. I don't know where my knife is, nothing. Like, I'm in survival mode, because I just know that these 2 big glowing eyes are looking at me, and it's probably going to come and kill me. That's what I'm thinking, or try to. I mean, I'm going to fight it, but I wasn't freaking out, but I'm going to tell you, it was pretty nerve-wracking. And so all I can do, all I can do at this point is look around and hold my bow and try to find a tree super close that I could climb. And I knew it was in the right area, but I just didn't know where I was. So anyway, I'm sitting here trying to get my bag off my back and get my sticks on a tree while I'm still trying to keep my eyes on these two big glowing eyes that are not moving. Like it's not running away. And then I get these sticks on the tree, and by the time I do, I realize that these eyes have moved about 20 yards to my right that are closer. And now I'm just like, I can't get up the tree fast enough. I'm trying to get my lineman around the tree and get it buckled in my saddle. And I'm sitting there thinking, I don't know what to do, because if I walk or if I walk out of there and leave, I'm going to think this thing's going to follow me. So all I can think of is, I know they can climb trees. I'm just going to get up this tree, and if it comes, I'm going to shoot it in the face with the bow. Now, but I'm taking a chance here too, because you got to think, I got to leave my bow on the ground just to climb the tree and then pull it up. So I'm leaving myself some room here to potentially die. And anyway. I'm not. Maybe that sounds dramatic, but in my mind, that was probably good. There's a good chance that was happening. Anyway, I get up in the tree, pull my bow up, and I don't see the eyes anymore. And I'm texting Jason Red. He's texting me at this point, and he's laughing. He goes, "Yeah, that's a bear." And I'm like, "Dude, my headlamp is not coming off till first light. I'm just going to tell you, if I don't kill a bear, that's fine. I'm gonna make sure, but I'm not. I'm pretty unnerved right now." And anyway, he's laughing at me. He's like, "Dude, you're good. Just, yeah, there's probably some food or there's cubs." I'm like, "Yeah, I kind of figured." So at some point, it's not light yet, but when you can kind of see a little bit, your eyes adjust. I'd cut my lamp off, and I felt pretty comfortable because I figured I'd hear it or something like that. And I'm sitting there, and as it starts getting light out, I see movement about 30 yards in front of me. And what I thought was a squirrel, then I realized, hey, I think that's a cub. Well, then as light comes on and I'm able to get my binos on it, it's not a cub. It's the head of that 300-pound bear. That was the bear looking at me. It never left. It was laying in the same area. And this bear was just laying flat on its belly, just shoveling acorns in its mouth. Just like, it's exactly like I'm telling you. It's just like this big slob, just shoveling these acorns in his mouth. I started kind of giggling to myself. I was like, holy cow, that bear never left. That was the bear. Had to be. Well, I sit there and watch it for about 10 minutes with the binos. And again, it's at 30 yards. Okay. Now, I can't shoot this bear because the tree I climbed put me in a position to have too much stuff around me. So then I'm kind of bummed out, thinking, man, I don't, because the tree I picked out had a really clear shot under that oak tree where the acorns were falling, and the tree I climbed now did not. So I was kind of bummed, thinking, man, I might not get a shot now if they come in that way. Well, anyway, I see movement, and there's another bear that comes in. Well, the big 300-pounder runs the other bear off. And I was like, well, that's a good sign, because if anything comes in, they might run this way. And that's kind of what happened. Well, that's exactly what happened for the most part. That bear that it ran off came back in, and it circled the oak tree, and it circled the big bear, trying to stay out of its way, and it came into my path. And I'm just thinking, that's a pretty good bear in my opinion, and I don't know any different. And I came to kill a bear. So when it came into my line of sight there where I could have a clear shot, I shot that bear at 17 yards, and it had a pass through, and it ran straight down the ridge. Well, I could hear it. The big bear never moved. It never made it wasn't bothered by any of that. It wasn't like it was a loud noise. A lot of people ask me, did I hear the death moan? I never did. But that's in a nutshell. I know from me being long-winded with it, but that's the story.
I mean, it's funny for me because I've heard the story. This is the first time John's hearing it. He's over there just chuckling, and uh, I've
Well,
never bear hunted. I've never seen a bear in the woods. I don't know how I would
well, I just
react.
like, I mean, you're talking about like, growing up here in Lower Michigan. I mean, when I was growing up, there was no bears in the Lower Peninsula. I mean, not in our area. So it's the same thing. Like, there's nothing in the woods that's gonna, hurt you really. I mean,
Oh yeah.
and then I remember going up to our Upper Peninsula, and I remember going up there with my brother. And when my brother was younger, he was scared of heights, so he would always sit on the ground. And so I remember going to the UP, and we're out scouting, and all of a sudden we run into these guys, and they got like a big barrel of like donuts and syrup and all this shit. And we're like, oh yeah, we got this big bear. Like, there's this 350 pounder, and there's a 400 pounder, and like, holy shit, we're walking out here in the dark, And I remember my brother, like, I remember walking out the first morning, it's like the hair in the back of my neck would start standing up, like thinking about this, and my brother sitting on the ground. Well, that was like the last time he sat on the ground. Next thing you know, he's like, "Give me one of the tree stands. I'm going up a tree." But, so yeah, it definitely makes you think about it when you're not alone out there.
It's a lot different, A lot of people don't like. I know hunters that will not walk in before gray light because they want to see where they're going because they're a little nervous about this or that. I've never been bothered by that, but there's times, you hear different noises in the wood and make you think, and your mind might get going a little bit. But it's never been super crazy. It's never bothered me. But I'm gonna tell you, you being there in the dark, and even though I had that headlamp, that bear, his whole body's black, right?
Right.
So it's blending in. It's like with the darkness, all you see are these eyes, and then I don't know. Then I start thinking, does it have friends? Are there other bears? Like, is it like a pack of coyotes? Do they have some kind of conversation and they surround me? Like, there's, I'm gonna tell you, yep, it was different. I'm gonna tell you, it was fun. A lot of people ask me, hey, how does it compare to, say, your whitetail hunting? Like, what are your thoughts and this and that? It's totally different. It is. I like to go hunting. I like to kill things. I like to turkey hunt. I like to fish. Every one of those things gives me a rush in some form or fashion. Bear hunting was no different. It was a rush. I wanted to kill a bear. I wanted to experience that, and it got my adrenaline pumping. Actually, before the hunt, as I was walking in, that was one way to do it, which I wasn't expecting. I would prefer not to have that adrenaline again, but to draw back and shoot the animal, and that was awesome. Now, here's the deal. That bear ran straight down I don't know what you'd call it, but straight down the ridge, like it was steep, and it died at around 70 yards away. I don't know if you guys saw again, I don't video, but like on Instagram, I videoed the blood trail where Jason and I had followed it, and it was a highway. God, it was a highway. Anyway, that bear I shot was around 200 pounds, and Jason and I drug it up. We didn't clean it or anything until we got it back up to where we wanted to. We had to bring it back up that ridge. I'm going to tell you, that was one of the toughest drags I've ever done. That thing was heavy, and going straight uphill again in the mountains, I did not enjoy that at all. Next time I said, Jason, if I kill, like, I couldn't imagine if I killed that 300-pound bear. And he's like, well, if we would have done that, we would have quartered it out, which, yeah, I get that. But my goodness, that's no fun. But so at the end of the day, my thoughts are, I killed that bear. If I got a chance to go the next day, I don't know that I'd do it. Where the different now I want to do it again. Yes, that's not my point. I'm just saying I was good. I was pretty satisfied. Now here's the deal. I killed a Hey, Buck, this past Friday, I'd be more than jacked to try and go kill another one the next day. You know what I'm saying? It's just a different thing. I mean, I love whitetail hunting is my thing. That's where I want to be and what I want to be doing. I'll go and kill some other things if I get the chance and the experience to do so. But it's not the same rush for me. It's still a rush, but the rush of killing a mature whitetail is it for me.
So with bear hunting, I got a couple questions, just because I'm pretty sure, and I think we could have drawn bear tags here this year, but next year, I think because of the way that all the seasons and everything line up, that I'll probably draw a tag here for Michigan. And so a couple things. So I've heard, and it doesn't sound like that was your case, but occasionally you'll get the blood trails aren't that great because of the fur. Like if you got a real thick hide, the blood gets caught up in the
fur and the fat too. The fat is more.
And then shot placement, because it seems like everything is further back on a bear. So I guess what was your I don't know, education or thoughts going into the hunt as far as that
goes? That's a great question. Yeah, that's a great question. Jason was telling me it's a little bit different shot, and he said it's a different shot. He said if you can try to get it taking a quartering away step, and that's exactly. I didn't have to wait on that. That's just what happened, and literally, while I was sitting in the tree, I'd already looked at this, but I'd already Googled shot placements on bears. I mean, I'd already done my homework, but I was kind of going back and researching to make sure, hey, I didn't want to mess up. I don't want to wound or hurt any animal. And I'm pretty confident in my shooting abilities. That's not an arrogance. I just practice enough to where I feel most of the time I'm going to put that arrow right where I got the pin. And so I put it right behind when he took that step with his left foot. I shot him on the left side, front left foot. It was a pass through. Actually, it's a different look because you do have all that fur. You don't have the definition that you see on the deer, right? Where the shoulder and all that stuff. So when he took a step, I put it to where I thought I was right, and it just so happened it was a heart shot. And again, the pass through, the bear just had such a flow of blood coming out. It probably died just from running out of blood. I was using a kudu point, and that was the first time I'd used that. I think if you guys remember with my velvet buck in August that I shot, I was using a mechanical. I've always used mechanicals, but I didn't want to. I hit opposite shoulder, and that mechanical didn't get the penetration. I recovered it, but it was not a pass through, and I wanted to make sure that didn't happen again. So I was very pleased with that kudu point. I've also got some iron will heads that I've enjoyed shooting too. So anyway, I just happened to put a good shot in that bear, and he didn't go very far. But I think it's a good question because some animals have the vitals, even though they're in a similar place, it's not exactly the same as shooting like I'm used to on the whitetail.
Yeah, and I think that muscle memory type thing is like you once you get to full draw, you're going to be like, okay, this is where it needs to be because this is what I've done so many times before, and it's not necessarily the case.
Correct.
Let's talk about that. That hunt you're talking about there with the mechanical. That's what I kind of alluded to with the kind of ups and downs, man. Like, I would like to hear from the and for the listener, like you and I have already really had this conversation, so it's not like I'm like just trying to
Well, I'd like to hear it. So, there.
kick you while you're down.
Yeah.
But you're so your whitetail hunt, the one that was in Tennessee, right? That was velvet hunt.
Yeah, we have so regular archery season in Tennessee has always started at the end of September for us. And 3 years ago they implemented a weekend or a 3-day velvet hunt in late August. And so me being with Tethered, we're trying to, put out some videos of hunts this year. And that was the first one. And well, let me go back and say the velvet hunts by Tennessee were 100% on private land only. They would not let you do it on public land. They said that was one of the things. So you had to do it on private land. Well, last year, CWD hit the west part of Tennessee. And so they allowed in those counties in the west, certain counties that were CWD counties, to be hunted on public land, and they allowed you to use a rifle. Matter of fact, buddy Adam Cruz, you probably know Adam, killed one with a rifle. I think Parker filmed it or filmed part of that hunt on southern ground. But anyway, I was on private land because I was here in Middle Tennessee, and I've been running cameras specifically for this hunt, this velvet hunt, all summer. And man, it was a plan came together and it worked 100% for the most part, as far as the deer doing what you would hope they would do. Obviously, anytime you're hunting, you can't predict exactly what's going to happen. But if I could script my entry, my wind, the best stand location, and the deer coming out like I needed it to, and seen it do, that's exactly what happened on this hunt. I'm in a tree. The tree literally 2 feet from me. We've got a cameraman filming the whole thing. It was so fast. The deer came out about an hour earlier than we expected, though. We literally were sitting there just talking, and I was on my phone showing him pictures of the deer. There's 4 deer that I had marked as shooters that I wanted to take. I would have been happy with any of them. I'm sitting there showing him that, hey, yeah, they come out about 6 o'clock, somewhere in there, typically. And here it is about 5:15. And as I've got my phone in hand, he's the cameraman is going, Adrian, there he is. The next thing I know, I'm looking at this deer come right out of the wood line, and he's on top of us. And I knew he had his, well, I don't know if you guys remember, but in the video, we had the hurricane rains coming through Tennessee at the time. It'd been raining all day, and we had a stoppage in rain, and it just happened to be a good time. I knew if the rain stopped, the deer would come out, and that's what happened. And anyway, he had the camera ready and rolling, and I drew back and put a shot on the deer. Felt like a good shot, looked good on camera. If anything, it might have been a touch forward, but it wasn't terrible. It's a kill shot. I knew it was a kill shot, but going back and look at the film, we could see that arrow go in about 12 inches, but then as he ran, you could see it hanging out. So obviously we knew we didn't get complete pass through, and it looked like it hit opposite shoulder. And that's what we're guessing still to this day, because it took us 2 days to recover that deer. We found it about 150 yards away, but the coyotes had cleaned them all out. Now, the velvet is still 99% good and intact, which is nice. I mean, that's part of the trophy. I mean, but for the sake of the deer, yeah, I wish I had that meat. I really do. But at the end of the day, it's part of the hunt. It's part of hunting. I've never lost a deer in my life, ever. And that's not arrogance. That's luck. I know that, because it's going to happen at some point. There's so many factors that come into play on a shot, even whether it's rifle, bow, whatever. But I was super stoked that I was able to find that deer. I didn't give up. I kept looking because I knew the deer was dead. I knew that shot was lethal. Based on I did find the arrow later on that night, and based on the blood that I had on there, I knew the deer was dead. And we got a dog on it the next morning. A lot of the rain had really washed out some stuff and hampered the recovery efforts. But anyway, I'll let you take it over from there. I know you got some questions.
Well, I mean, like what you and I had talked about, like I said, it's not a indictment or anything like that, but like, what would you do differently? I mean, what went? You kind of outlined the things that went right, and
Right.
a little bit of the things that went wrong. Even in leading up to it, and saying that you had switched broadheads and stuff. But with the weather and all of those factors, like what would you do differently? I mean, you made a kill shot. It was, everything kind of went.
Did you not have a good blood trail? Is that what happened, or
Well,
did
rain
it get?
started.
The rain started up again.
Well, it didn't rain right away. It didn't. As a matter of fact, it didn't rain again until overnight. We had to pull out of there. We did not find blood because it wasn't a pass through. Now, when I found my arrow, we found a little blood right there. And what it was I shot that deer fixing to go into a cornfield. And we had scoured that cornfield. Like there's acres and acres. And I just assumed the way it ran, it went into the cornfield. And there was no blood, though. All I had to go on was tracks. And after a while, there's so many deer tracks in that cornfield, I kind of lost track of that one particular buck.
Right.
So then when I found the arrow, it was going back up the ridge into the wood line. Then I realized, okay, we've been looking in the wrong place. And so we backed out and got a dog. And the dog got on and found blood immediately that we didn't see when it was dark. And here's the deal. The guy that had the dog, great guy. I have no experience with dogs. Later on, he told me that he thinks he might have messed up and pulled that dog off that deer because he thought it was an area. He thought that we had backtracked or walked over and the dog was on a scent from our boots. Now, who knows? I don't know. Maybe that's the case. Maybe that happened. Maybe it wasn't. At the end of the day, here's what I would change and what I wouldn't change. Me, like I said, I've never lost a deer. All the deer that I've ever killed, I've seen die in front of my eyes or I've heard them crash in the woods. Okay? So taking that from my background, even though it had been raining, I knew we had a long window where it was not going to rain anymore. So in my mind, if I'm shooting a deer, I'm going to watch it die or I'm going to hear it die. I'm not worried about the rain because it wasn't raining anymore till maybe the middle of the night. So, some people will say, oh, you got to shoot a heavier arrow or you can't shoot this or that's broadhead and that broadhead. I don't disagree with them, but everybody's got the right to their own opinion. At the same time, I've never used a heavy arrow. I've always shot mechanicals and I've always killed. That's not arrogance. That's the truth. That's what's happened. I've got the proof, So, so now I had, before season started, wanted to play around with a heavier arrow set for sure. I've looked into the science behind it and all that, and that was something I did. I wanted to play with. I'm a person that researches, and I want to get all the facts and before I jump onto anything. Well, this past spring, I actually had elbow surgery. I had tendonitis really bad in my left elbow. I'm a southpaw shooter. So I never got to play around with that stuff because after I had surgery, I wasn't able to shoot a bow till late July. And when I was shooting a bow in late July, I was only pulling 50 pounds at the time because I couldn't do anymore. So there's no way I'm going to change what's been working for me for years. So anyway, so I was good with what I had. So with that being said, at the end of the day, I would have, if I could have changed something that day, I would have changed from a mechanical to something like I use on the bear, like the kudu or the iron wheel broadhead. And I will say, going into next year, I plan on using a heavier arrow set, whatever that is. I don't know, but I mean, I do believe in the science and stuff behind it. But for I'll take criticism all day. I don't mind. It doesn't hurt my feelings. It's part of it. I get that. It's part of what I do. I just think it's crazy though that everybody's quick to, oh, you should have done this, you should have done that. Heavy arrow, heavy arrow, heavy arrow. That's a pretty new concept to everybody though. So like I don't it doesn't bother me. Like at the end of I sleep well. Because I did the best that I could based on the knowledge that I could or I knew. And at the end of the day too, I went and found that deer. A lot of people would have given up after 3 days. I knew that deer was dead. If you remember, I said it's a 3-day hunt. A lot of people might have not found that deer on Friday like me and hunted Saturday and Sunday. No, I owed it to myself, the animal. I knew I'd find that deer. I was confident in it. I saw the shot. I watched it many times. I got a lot of opinions from friends and other hunters, and I hate that I didn't recover it that night, but at the end of the day, what do I do over again? Different broadhead is what I know now. Now, if I had I still can't speak on the heavier arrow set, but I think I'll be changing to that. Maybe that too, but right now I can't speak on that.
Well, I wasn't saying one way or the other. I just, like I said, for like the listener, it's I feel like, and I don't know why. I don't know why, but maybe I'm just like a little bit more like sensitive to it this year. But I feel like through social media and like people that follow the show and stuff like that, people that I see online, that there's been a lot more like people losing deer or like, I don't know, like I've like bad hits and stuff like that. Cause I get a lot of texts. I'm sure you do too, just from people like saying, "Hey, what do you think of this hit or this blood or like this is what happened?" I mean, if you live and breathe like talking bow hunting, then those are the people that you talk to. I mean, essentially. But it just seems like there's been a lot of people with like bad hits and stuff this year, and I was trying to think about like.
Well, I want thinking about like everyone going to the it's like a fad again or whatever. It's like the heavy arrows that they were a thing way back. I mean, back when we used to shoot Eastons, the aluminum arrows, they were heavy back then. But
like one thing that I read, and this kind of goes into your maybe not your story, but like your history for sure, is that like the and I'm kind of speaking to John here, but like the overdraw like is where the speed fad like changed things, So your dad was like prototyping.
Oh yeah, we built some crazy ass short arrows and overdraw trying to get faster speeds and smaller diameter arrow, but when I'm thinking, my thought process on this whole thing, like you're saying with like a lot of people getting bad hits and stuff, they think, well, I got this big heavy arrow, I can just shoot at any angle and put a bad shot on a deer and still get it. I'm just going to shoot through that front shoulder. I mean,
you just pointed at me. I've been shooting him in the neck for years, John.
Right. But I mean, I've seen I like all the videos I've been watching and stuff, and man, I've seen a lot of questionable shots. Like, man, that's quartering two, and or even like a partial frontal, and it just, some of them seem just kind of iffy, especially as I guess maybe if it was like 5 or 10 yards, it might be a different story. But and then, what broadhead were you shooting? If you,
I was shooting a NAP kill zone.
Oh,
okay.
that
So
hurts me.
So the NAP kill zone, do those open backwards?
It's
It
a
would
slip
be like
cam
a
rage.
Slip cam, okay.
It'd be like a rage, yeah.
Right. Because, there was a couple videos, I can't remember what show it was I was watching, but, I used to shoot the old NAP split fire.
Mhm.
And I had some really crazy, like, pass-throughs and arrows, deflecting. Literally, I shot this doe, and the arrow went up, like, straight up. It went through her. It must have just been the way she dropped or whatever, but
yeah.
And the arrow flew up straight up in the air and come down. But, like, I just watched a couple videos where, when that split fire opens, like, especially when the blades are, they're pointed forward, they hit. Now, they're a great head for, like, shooting turkeys, I believe, because you want it to, like, slow down.
Shock them.
Yeah. But I watched this, and the guy shot this. He's on the ground, and he shoots it, and it's kind of forward, and it comes out, like, way back in, like, the guts. And they're like, yeah, and they're talking about, arrow deflecting. It's like, well, that's definitely going to happen with those type of broadheads. A mechanical that opens backwards, you're losing a lot of energy, and it's doing a lot of deflection.
Well, Adrian, when I say that about the nap kill zones, and it just kind of pains me, is we talked about it on this podcast, the one where we were talking about the bucks that we killed in October, but like.
Yep.
Ernie, so he switched to heavy arrows, and he was blowing through deer at 35 yards. That the deer didn't even notice that they were hit, or
Right.
just crazy with. And he's not shooting a very like a super heavy arrow or anything like that, but he, he's very anal and very analytical, and when we sat down with Troy at ATA and he was there for the podcast, it was just like, man,
Yep.
I got to do this. He was all in, but. I tracked a deer that Ernie shot at 17 yards with a nap kill zone. Didn't get a pass through on this doe at 17 yards, and we tracked this deer for like 600 or 700 yards, and it was just the most ridiculous thing. And like, I've said it. We've talked to guys that have broadheads on the show here, and it's just like broadheads are the best thing ever when they work. And then when they don't, they're the worst thing ever. And like for me, that was like my first hand. Like I'll never shoot that broadhead because of that failure right there.
Yep,
That one
yep.
time,
Well, and that's a perfect example of what happened to me. Like I said, I couldn't tell you how many deer I've killed with actually. So I've been using the kill zone for 2 years, and before that, I was using the Spitfires. I used those for years, and I've had so many pass throughs, and then if it's not a pass through, I've hit opposite shoulder. Like I've had to, like when I've recovered the deer, I've taken the broadhead. Actually, I've had to pull it out of the opposite shoulder when I'm taking cleaning the deer, and like last year in Mississippi when I was down there in January with THP. That was a kill zone on that Mississippi swamp buck. That thing went 50 yards, like, and it actually hit opposite shoulder. I don't know. I don't understand the dynamics of everything, but the deer, the velvet deer that we're talking about, I shot it at about 20 yards, if that. It wasn't even that. And you got to think, I've got a long draw. I don't have an answer. I just know that, hey, I don't want that to happen again. I want it to blow through his shoulder. And so I'd never experienced that. And when I did, I made a change. If I can be better and do better, I want to do that. And I owe it to the animal and myself and the time and effort that I put in. Because come on, there's a lot of people using things and doing things out there now, and I don't have anything in mind particular, but they could be doing it wrong or using the wrong equipment, but it's worked for this or that. And, I'm probably going to get some hate for this, but like, here's the deal. There's guys out there using stick bows I have no issue with that whatsoever. This is not me slamming that because I'm not. But you could say the same thing. You're not getting the same force out of that you are a compound bow. There's just so many things that you could argue and this and that. And as long as you're trying to be ethical and do the best you can, like I'm not using a mechanical because I don't want to recover my deer. I mean, are you stupid?
No.
Right.
You think? I mean, you think? Oh well, yeah. I'm gonna use this mechanical and maybe I get it, maybe I don't. No, are you kidding me?
No, I think
God.
so. On that note, like as far as like the traditional guys, like I think the traditional guys are like the most diligent guys. Like maybe like the hipster traditional hunter that like doesn't do whatever. I would say, and like this is where like I try and shy away from like creating hate or drama or inner hunter stuff. But personally, and I got a good buddy that did the same thing this year, and he luckily recovered the deer and everything. But like the crossbow guys that pick it up and think it's like the gun that they sighted in like last year, and they don't, or even the guys that don't check their equipment and they just pull it out of the case a week before the season. I mean,
yeah. Well, I do have a problem.
That's the thing.
We've got this is a whole nother rabbit hole, but crossbow's not a freaking. I mean, they can say the same thing. Like, well, if you're that, what you want to be, the bow hunter, then go back to a stick bow. Well, I still have to. The vertical bow, you still have to draw it back. You still have to hold it. You still have to, focus everything. When you're shooting a crossbow, you have that thing cocked. You have a scope on it. It's like shooting a gun. It is a gun.
Well, and
but if you don't shoot it before you go out.
Oh, right, exactly. My buddies, another one of my buddies, his dad. I call him Rodney. Sorry for all the actual Rodneys out there, but he's an actual clown. I mean, this guy, he goes out and he it wasn't last year before, he ended up wounding like 3 deer with his crossbow. I'm like, how the fuck, excuse my language, did he shoot it? Well, and so he's like, hey, Dad, did you shoot? Well, no, I shot it last year. Well, what the hell? You're just going out with a bow. It's still got a string. Everything can change on that, especially if sitting around for a year. And who knows if it was in his trunk or out in the barn or whatever. You owe it to the animal to get out and shoot that thing a few times. I don't care if it is hard to cock. What the hell?
Well, and you nailed it. I mean, and that's with anything: gun, muzzleloader, your bow, stick and string. If you're not putting the time and practice in, that is a disgrace to hunting, in my opinion, to the animal that you are hunting. And I'm not done talking here because I am long-winded. But Adam, have you ever heard John be so passionate about anything? you get that joker talking about crossbows, man. But here's the deal. I said stick and string. Like I said, I'm not using that to say slight that in any way. It was just an analogy to say, okay, you can make an argument about anything,
right,
as far as the speed of the arrow and stuff like that, because those guys, that's an art, in my opinion. Those guys are awesome that do that, and that's awesome. I use a compound. That's my thing. But I am, John, we might not be friends anymore after I say this, but you're just gonna have to deal with it, son. Guys that want to shoot crossbows, that's their opinion. It's not for me. I wouldn't do it. But if that's what a guy wants to do, or for whatever reason, more power to him. But you better put the practice in.
Right.
That's all. That's my only thing. Put practice in. If you're going to go and try to kill anything in a sportsmanlike way, you better practice before you just go out there and do that junk. That gets me fired up. Now, as long as it's any kind of legal means, I'm okay with it. Doesn't mean I do it. Again, everybody's got their opinion. I don't like, and I'm not getting political or anything like that, but I'm tired of everybody's opinion. Like when from the standpoint of them telling you you're wrong because you do this, 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 and this. If it's legal and I put my time and I busted my tail to do it, heck yeah, I'm going to do it. So that's my only gripe.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, if you want to use a crossbow, that's completely your prerogative. I just there's we've had like I remember being down in Ohio the one year, and you know we were back to camp and we'd killed a couple bucks, and then we were in this campground and it was just hunters from all over the country. Like there's 60 cabins and there was probably 30 different state plates in there. No shit, but we're taking care of our deer, and these guys come down. They're like, "Hey, we killed one tonight. Do you mind if we use your because we had the
Gambrel.
yeah the gambrel hook and a little
Pulley.
cable pulley system, the portable stuff." And they're like, "Yeah, no kidding." So they bring it down, and this is a monster buck, like just a duke, man. And you're talking about
Wait, just to clarify, a Duke is good and a Rodney is bad, right?
yeah,
But Rodney shot this.
but Rodney shot the duke. So we had just got done cleaning up our deer and stuff, and these guys they're bringing it down. I go in and I'm like in the process of making dinner for everybody, and then I come back out when this they're like, "Man, you got to go check this buck out." I get out there, I'm like, "Holy crap, this is it was probably a 180."
Yeah, it was a 12-point crab claw. Like
Yeah, it was just a beautiful buck. And then they're talking, the story, and the guy's like, I think he said he was like 37 or 35 yards. Like, wow, man, that's a hell of a shot. Blah,
And
blah.
this guy thinks it's like 120. He thinks it's he doesn't even know what he's got.
Right. And
Rodney's.
he'd said something about, I'm like, well, what bow are you shooting? And he shot with a crossbow. I'm like, oh, all right, well, nice buck. I turned around, went back in, and finished cooking because I was like, to me, that's great. That's great for him. But if my thought process, like, I'm going to shoot my vertical bow until I physically can't shoot a bow that's capable of killing a deer, because
Right.
that's bow hunting to me.
That's me. I've never even shot a crossbow. I haven't. And like I said, I don't. That's my choice. I'm not anti. I like what I like. I like my bow.
All right.
And
so Adrian, you've got like 2 daughters. Like, where do they fall? Because I mean, my daughter's going to hunt the youth hunt next year, and she's going to shoot a rifle. But like, where do you fall with like your 2 daughters? And I don't know if they want to hunt or they whatever. But like, do you see it as like the gateway drug to? I mean, verbatim, this is what my daughter told me. We were talking the other day, and we were talking about hunting. And she says, I said, we were talking about like girls that hunt and stuff like that. And mind you, my daughter's 5, and she says, yeah, I think I'm going to hunt. I said, what are you going to hunt? She says, I'm going to hunt elk. I'm going to hunt turkey. I'm going to hunt does. She says, I want to kill a bear. We've never eaten bear, Dad. So we're gonna hunt a bear. And I said, well, were you gonna hunt with a gun or a bow? And she says, like, this is what her words. I think I'm gonna stick to the bow for now because I didn't get to shoot the gun this year for the youth hunt. So how do you see like my daughter wants to hunt with a bow, but like, she's not gonna be able to put all that process, for many, many years, but her enthusiasm is there. So where do you see, like, for in your scope of parenting, hunting, and all of that?
okay, so my youngest daughter, Hayes, she's 8 years old. She has been out hunting with me, but she has not been the hunter. My oldest daughter, Harper, she's 10. She'll be 11 actually here in December. She killed one deer, not last year, 2 years ago. She was 8 or 9. She shot a buck. She shot a nice buck actually. It'd been it's a great first deer. It's probably about 115 inches for first buck, first deer, and she shot that with a 7mm .08 youth stock, and I got her. What round was it? It was a Hornady, like a light round. And she's also killed a gobbler. with I had a 20 gauge Benelli Nova with I had some shells made for her that would not, and I also got her like a Comfort Tech, like super cushiony pad on her gun. Um, I, I firmly believe that if she wants to go do these things, I will give her all the access that I can. Um, a lot of the kids are going to follow parents' footsteps and kind of do, and they emulate what we're doing in pretty much everything in life. Um, so she used a gun and a shotgun. I've given them bows like as toys since they were babies, and I've got video and pictures of them shooting and all this stuff. And they say they want to shoot bows. I've never even introduced them to crossbows because I have no experience with them myself. I don't even. I'm sure they're old enough to know what they probably are, but I've never even talked to them about that. So I think that to answer your question, if they ask me about it, we'll have a conversation. And as a parent, I want to teach them, proper etiquette in anything they do. But sometimes they got to learn for themselves. I don't know. It's a tough question. Like if they ask for a crossbow, I don't know. One, I don't know how I'd deal with that question unless I was presented with it. I feel like at that point in time I'd handle it, but I don't. If they wanted to use a crossbow, I wouldn't tell them no. I don't think. I'm like if they're not able to pull a bow back and have it pull enough poundage back to where they'd ethically kill, I wouldn't let them do that. Yeah, I think I'd let them use a crossbow. But as they got older, I think that they see me using a bow. I think that they would gravitate towards that. But at the same time, I don't want to keep here's the problem and Walter Lee and I were talking about this the other day in general. In our hunting society and social media nowadays, hunters give other hunters a bad name. If my daughter wants to go shoot a crossbow, whether I agree with it or not, and she's out there having fun hunting and she's doing it in the legal means, let her do it. I guess that's my thought. And that's the thing Walter and I were talking about. Like there's so many hunters. I mean, you can't go on any kind of social media page about hunting and a guy posting a picture of let's say it's 100-inch deer in a big buck state, right? That grows them big, and somebody says something. Hey, this is my first deer. There's going to be someone that's going to rip that person, right. And that's the problem in our society as hunters. I hunt because I love it, and I do like the meat, and there's a trophy part of it for me. There is, but like I said, I've never even scored my deer for the most part. Like I might, I've hunted enough to kind of look at one and see, but you know how that goes. When you're in a situation where you see something that looks big, you're not going to sit there and say, well, I think that's 140. I think it's okay to shoot because we've all had ground shrinkage when we walk up too. I'm having fun. That's why I do it. I love to hunt because I like the challenge. I like to match my wits with nature and see if I can get in close range and be able to kill that animal and put food on my table. Now, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. I don't make a ton of money, but it's not life or death that I have to kill a deer to put food on my table to feed my family. I'm doing it because I love it. I love the rush. I love the kill, and everything else is a bonus. So if my daughter, to answer your question, if she wants to hunt with a crossbow and that's what's fun for her, honey, let's go get you a crossbow.
Yeah, anything to get the kids involved and get them, get that spark. But then I think we mentioned this before. I don't remember who said it first, but it's like, you don't ask your kids, hey, let's go out and shoot our crossbows. Like I'll ask my son, hey, let's go out and shoot our bows. Let's go up to 4Bs and shoot the 3D course. You don't see people doing that with crossbows. You know, I mean,
Right.
it's like a social thing. It's a family thing. You know, so like when your kid does get, you know, you can initiate them with the crossbow because, like you said, if they can't pull the poundage, but they want to get out there and hunt, and it's archery season, and it's completely legal to hunt with a crossbow, that's perfect. They want to get out there and do
Right.
it, get them into it. But then,
Yep.
like,
Yep.
encourage them. Like, I mean, obviously, you and I and Adam, we love shooting our bows, and it's something that, you know, I usually do. Like, I try to do it every day, you know, especially like during the summer months and stuff like that. And then it's just a way to, you know, do something with the way social media and everybody's got all their electronic devices. It's a way to like unplug, get out, and like, hey, have some family time and get the kids involved, even if they can't hunt with it yet.
Well, I mean, like when you say that, like it just, you know, it just like warms my heart. It makes me like smile because I think back like it was, you know, a little bit before the season or maybe right after the first of the, you know, when our bow season started, and like I don't know if I was having like a bad day at work or whatever. But I came home and I was kind of like sitting on the couch and we were playing with my daughter or whatever, and she's like, "Dad, you want to go do something fun? You want to do something fun?" And I'm like, that could mean playing Barbies or like sitting in a princess house or like whatever. And I'm like, yeah, sure. What do you want to do that's fun? She's like, can we go shoot our bows? And I was like, hell yes, we can go shoot our bow. Like, all right, you got me. Like, it was exactly what I needed, you know. But that's like, you know, between like things like that and like I read stuff online and you watch videos and stuff, and like one of the things that resonated with me was a kid in a video saying like, now we got meat. Yeah, that's Josh Mapes. He listens. I met him. He's a local guy here. Overdrive Outdoors. He's got a real big like Facebook page and stuff like that. Cool guy. Just tagged out in Michigan with his bow, public land. But that's what his kid said. And like, I killed a deer, and it was, you know, we got the video and all that stuff, and it was warm, and I, you know, cut it all up before my daughter even got to see it. That's what she told me. She goes, well, at least we got meat, Dad. You know, like she didn't care whether it was a buck, whether it was a doe. She didn't care one. She's like, now we got venison to cook on the grill. Like that's, you know, that's the whole thing.
Yeah. I mean, I can remember Harper, my oldest, her first hunting was we would go turkey hunting, and of course, part of me is like, man, I really want to kill. I want her to see what a kill's like. This is before that had ever happened. And then when I get out there, she's got a rifle. It's a little fake toy gun, right? And she's bringing her gun with her. We're going to go kill turkeys. And she's probably, I don't know, she's little. She's 3 or 4. And when we get out there and I start calling, and I'm serious. I'm wanting to call it a turkey. And then it hits me. You know, it's not about that. She's like, Daddy, I call turkeys now. And she starts doing, just making all these noises. And then that's when it hit me. It's not about killing these turkeys. It's this experience with my child and introduce. We never saw a turkey. We were not going to see a turkey with the calling that she was doing. But that is a lifelong memory that I'll have. Hopefully she has, and introducing them to a sport that I love. Hopefully that's something that gravitates towards her. You know, maybe it will, maybe it won't. I'm never going to force anything like that on my kids. I will support them in what things that they want to do. But, you know, like you're saying, you know, at the end of the day, you had a tough day or whatever, and just to be there with your kids, that's you know, and doing something together that you love is just a phenomenal experience.
But I'll be damned if she wants to shoot a crossbow. I'll let her, but I'm gonna call her Rodney. To make sure that she knows it.
Well, and that's the way it works though. Rodneys go out all the time, and they shoot dukes left and right, and it's hard to swallow. Man. I mean, because we're sitting here working our tails off 365 days a year. We might not be in the woods that much, but we're planning it in our minds and we're thinking about it. And it's very seldom that we always get the opportunity to run across a Duke. And these guys go out, the armchair hunters that take their lazy boys out there and sit there. And in the first 20 minutes of light, that big joker steps out and the Duke goes down by Rodney. That's a tough pill to swallow.
That reminds me, my last hunt, I got back from the UP, and I'd seen a decent buck on some public land in this marsh area, and Adam had been talking to one of his buddies who lives in that area.
He killed a freaking giant, too.
Yeah. And he's like, I'd been hunting, the east side of this marsh. Anyway, I'd went in on the north side, end up seeing this buck, and then I ended up going up north. I came back, and the wind was perfect. It was a south wind. I went in there. I told my wife, I was like, I went in there with there was no doubt in my mind I was going to kill this deer tonight. Everything was perfect. I get in there, and I've got everything set up. I got the camera set up. I did my interview, and I'm just full of anticipation. This is going to happen. It wasn't one of those sits where I'm just sitting there I hope I see him tonight, blah, blah, blah. It was I knew I was going to see him. I knew what time, everything. And it just time passed. I'm man, what the hell's going on? And I start looking, and I'm looking out into this marsh, and there's this, it's almost like a little finger ridge that goes out in this marsh, and there's got a bunch of big trees, and it's where they're bedding. And that's right where that buck came from. And I'm looking out in there with my binos, is he getting up late? What's going on? All of a sudden I look, I'm what the hell is that? And here's this big ass rifle / crossbow tree stand, homemade job. It's got a arm rest on it, or a rifle rest, and it's ratchet strapped up into one of these trees right in the middle of the bedding area. I'm well, mother effer. No wonder why, the Duke is he's up on the private land now. Yeah, Rodney's in here. I'm getting the hell out of here. Him and his buddy, Daryl just come in and put up this stand. I was so upset. I was oh, son of a bitch. But I did hear, Michigan right now, we're always, we're always talking about how there's so many, there's a lot of pressure on public land. This year, the licenses are up 11%. It's the first time in over 20 years that it's been a 20-year decline in hunting license. It's gone up 11%, which is a good thing. I mean, it's good for the sport, whatever, but it's also a bummer for some of the guys, the loyalists that, been out there pounding it year after year, and now all of a sudden, I think I even told Adam this, every spot that I've gone out to, all my spots, I know that there's guys in the areas. I used to put turkeys on all of them, and then it gets confusing when you're actually going turkey hunting. So I've changed my icons now, but it's I knew where all those guys used to be. Now there's even more. I wanted to put my new Tacticam, the reveal out on this runway where I've hunted for several years, and all of a sudden there's a tree stand literally right on the runway. Son of a.
But also you talked about the armchair guy, or the guy that just goes out there and whatever. The irony of that is that today is Michigan's rifle opener, and not a single one of us went out, and it's on the weekend and everything like that. And I mean, I can't even imagine what. I mean, it's shitty weather here today, and whatever.
Super windy, rain.
But the amount of guys that end up that Orange Army is for real. And one of the things, like I said, we'll get to it in another podcast, but I have the week leading up to rifle season, and it's every day there was more and more trucks, more and more guys, more and more everything. And it's just,
Well, I'd mentioned that too. I'm
yeah.
Dude, especially this one spot that he loves to hunt, and I freaking hate it. I'm especially leading up to the last few days before gun season, dude, to me, it's a waste of time, because the guys that are going to gun hunt, they're out there, prepping they're rebuilding their blinds, or they're putting their blind out, or
They got their ratchet straps.
and their ladder stands, and they're out there walking around and checking it, and for us it's really screwing it up, but it is what it is. It's their
that's tough. Like I know, I mean, same here in Tennessee. Like most of the archery season, I have the public land, not to myself, but there's very little intrusion to where I'm hunting, or if I see a car parked, I can go somewhere else. I always typically have multiple based on the wind, spots picked in case something happens like that. But all I know is when muzzleloader season starts, and like you mentioned it, and everybody's heard it, the Orange Army comes in. I mean, that's the way it is here. Muzzleloader has been in effect here. This is going on week 2, and I think November the 21st rifle season starts. But typically, once muzzleloader opens here, it's just covered, and Catman calls them Elmer Fuds, just walking around. It's pretty much like that till about after Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving gets hammered, and then after that, it dies down a lot. But it's part of it. Luckily, right now, I was able to limit out on bucks this past week, and matter of fact, I was in Kentucky last week. Kentucky is my stinking nemesis. I'm going to be headed out tomorrow. I'm a high school teacher. We are remote learning. I will be able to go up to Kentucky tomorrow morning, and then I'm going to Zoom some of my classes, and I'll be able to hunt the mornings. I'll teach in the afternoons in the middle of the day, and then I will hunt the evenings. So I'm headed out tomorrow, going to a part in Kentucky that is bow only, and I'll be able to hunt 3 days before I come back, and then the Orange Army in Kentucky is going to take over there. So I'm trying to make the most of my time and fill some tags. So anyway, I'm pretty much done in Tennessee till I start trying to go bust some does late season. I'll take my rifle out for that. Does that make me a Rodney, John? Or
no, absolutely
as
not.
long as I'm not using a crossbow, right?
Right.
So, has there been you had mentioned the CWD stuff? Has there been any changes in your regulations other than that? Other than doing some of that velvet hunt or whatever on public land in that area?
For me, no. So if you look at the state of Tennessee, it's just and let me preface this by saying there's no she said jokes. Or that's what she said. It's just a long state. Okay, it's very narrow but very long, and so I'm in the middle part of the state, and so the west side. For people that aren't familiar with the west side, that would be the left part of the state on a map. That's where some of the CWD counties are. It's more, if you look at the map and look around the anything around Memphis and some surrounding counties is basically CWD. There are some regulations and some things going on there, but since I have not been in that area to hunt, I could not speak on that.
The reason that I ask is just so you had mentioned the muzzleloader, and then that just kind of clicked it off for me. Is like, so where we're hunting, like the spot John hates and where I hunt a lot, and all my spots span that same county basically.
Yeah.
But now with the rifle, you can, well, with any tag, but our rifle is usually buck, and then you need a doe permit. You can shoot whatever you want to with a rifle. And then they've said that now in muzzleloader season, you can use any rifle that's legal for the area. So it's just like one giant rifle season.
Yeah.
And
just kill them all.
It's just, where maybe it's going to decimate some deer, yes. But I think it gives guys more motivation because it's like, well, I don't have a muzzleloader, or it's too much pissing around or whatever. Like, well, I can just hunt. You can just still hunt with your, so they get an extra week of rifle season, and they don't need a doe permit. They can shoot whatever they want to. So it is literally, it's brown, it's down. So
be careful walking in the woods.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, I'm a, my favorite. I'm a bow hunter. I would say, some people may argue that, but I love my bow. Even during rifle and muzzleloader season, I take my bow out most of the time. But I'm also, it's one of those things that whatever the mood hits me, I like killing. I've said that many times today. I love to kill. I prefer to do it with my bow just because it's more of an intimate thing for me, getting in up close and all those things. But I have no hesitation of going and grabbing my muzzleloader or my rifle to go kill an animal. I don't. There's no issue with that for me whatsoever. And here, it's different. We're a 2-buck state, but in my part of Tennessee, we can kill up to 3 does a day. You don't have to get extra tags or anything like that. As long as you got the appropriate license, I can kill 3 does a day, every day.
I was just watching the hunting public guys are down there doing that.
Oh yeah, they were here last week.
Yeah,
and those jokers were all over it.
Oh
yeah. Yeah, they come and camped close by, and they ended up hooking up with the Seek One guys, and they were hunting public land too. How about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I took a rifle out last year for one day, and I got reprimanded. I got a tongue lashing. I wasn't called a Rodney, but I was, I was put on a warning.
And that's the problem, man. Like, I don't know what you're even talking about. But like, you gotta do you. Come on, listen. I'm a high school teacher. You know all the crap I've probably ever been said about me as a teacher and being a student. Like, man, I got thick skin. I do not care. I'm going to do what I want to do if it is legal. But now, come on. At the end of the day, too, whether I believe it's okay or not to do it, yeah, just me and my nature, I'm probably going to poke fun of you, even though I just did it last week and nobody knows. I'm going to poke fun of you just because I'm going to try and get the best out of you and make fun of you to make you feel bad, because that's who I am.
It was John, and it hurt my feelings.
I'm like, dude, we got a bow hunting podcast, and you go out with your rifle. I said, what the hell's wrong with you?
I was literally trying to jump shoot does.
So then the next week, rabbits. I went out with my rifle. But that was because.
If you can't razz one of your buddies and give them ultimate hell, I mean, what good are you?
Yeah, I was just hurt. I mean, it cut me deep, Here Frank's had the worst season of his life, and now he's bested that almost. And so he just wanted to shoot a deer. So I said, all right, well, I got a spot where there's some deer. And I actually pushed some deer over to him. And
you're doing a favor then.
Not in John's mind. I should have had a bow.
You could have walked with your bow in your hand. You should have grabbed your recurve. You could have jump shot a bow.
For future podcast stuff, I know now if I want to get John ultra talkative, I'm going to talk about crossbows, rifles, muzzle loaders. I might bust out a slingshot next time. I don't know.
At Laddle.
Well, I mean, John, I don't know if you saw the videos I think I put them on Instagram or maybe on the story or something. Or no, it's just in our small group for the Patreons, I think. But John was doing some Blow Hunter Chronicles videos with the fucking
the blow gun. That sounded great.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to watch that.
It's on his OnlyFans.com.
Yeah, right. No, I have a blow gun. How's that? Those are okay.
I'm not throwing shade, dude. You do you, John.
Oh
Oh,
man, it's funny. So what do you got coming up then? Other than you said you're going to Kentucky. What's so difficult about Kentucky? Why has it
Man,
been
so
such a
okay.
problem?
So I hunted Kentucky last year for the first time. I'm very close to Kentucky. It's about an hour drive. I'm going to go where I'm going. It's about a 2 hour drive. No big deal. I went there last year 3 times. I took my bow twice, and I took my muzzleloader one time, Johnny. And last year, these deer, I saw some really, really nice deer. But the problem is, when I saw them, it was when I was driving into the hunt in the morning or leaving in the afternoon or in the, after dark. I never saw shooter deer when I was in the tree. Last week when I went, I saw one deer in 4 days, and it was a shooter at 70 yards. He was probably, I'm going to guess, a 140s class deer. And it's just been my nemesis. I'm a hunting sign left and right. I mean, there's mega sign in there. I know that the deer are there. But for whatever reason, I just have not been able to get in a position to see the deer. So I was talking to after I left last week, the other guys that were hunting out there stayed 3 or 4 days. There were a few bucks killed, and some dandies. And I had a buddy, matter of fact, at church this morning. He was hunting Kentucky last week. He showed me he killed one on Friday with a bow, and it was a nice one. The deer, to my understanding, and what I witnessed, and what just talking to people last week, there was a lot of cruising, but there wasn't much chasing. And I think after I left around Friday of last week, the chasing really, really started. So when I limited out in Tennessee last Friday, that just opens my door to be able to go. My plans now are to go to Kentucky tomorrow, hunt Kentucky at least Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, unless I kill, early, and then come back home. So I've got a tag there. I still have a Georgia tag. I still plan on going and trying to fill that. I got some buddies down in the Atlanta area that I hunted there early season. Well, I hunted there the Georgia opening weekend, and I plan on going back there in December. So my plans right now, I'm done in Tennessee as far as buck tags. I really, hope to get after some stuff in Kentucky this week. And then Mr. Ernie Powers is going to come down to Tennessee the first week of December, and I'm going to go with him. I may be filming for him since I'm tagged out now, and we're going to try and get him filled up on some buck tags. And at some point, I'm going to, like I said, Georgia. And early January, I'm going back to Mississippi where I killed that swamp buck last year with THP guys. I'm going to go. Ernie Powers is going to meet me. We're going to go down there. That'll be his first time down there. And I'm trying to talk old Cat Daddy into coming down there too. As of right now, that's it.
I got a couple things. It's funny that you say that you're going down there because I was telling my wife that there's a veterans hunt that I had an opportunity to go on a couple years, and it always falls on the ATA weekend, and so my wife was saying how she was happy that there was no ATA and that there was that there was going to be a break in the hunting talk for a minute. She's like, I know you guys will talk about it, but you won't be doing it. There's not that hunting. And I'm like, well, in January, there's always this hunt down in Mississippi, that I haven't got to go on, and she's like, I feel like if you're going to go to Mississippi, you should hunt gators or hogs or something, not whitetail. She said, that's not a whitetail state to me. was like, but it's funny that you say that you're going down there in January because I was like considering that myself. But
That's
what?
Saddlepalooza.
No, it's there's like a veterans hunt through the Rover with Joe. But one of the things I was going to ask you is like, it just seems odd. Like, and again, I'm a terrible hunter, so this is coming from like this is for the listener, aka myself also. Like, why would you be more inclined to want to hunt when they're chasing than when they're cruising? Because it seems like for me, I would rather that they were cruising so I could set up on like known areas where I would, downwind of bedding, like things that were like legit predictable. Where, I've had deer like in the chasing. I mean, I've seen a ton of bucks, especially like when there's one hunt like in Ohio, and I mean, hell, even one just this past week where, a hot doe comes through or something, and there's just bucks everywhere, and you're like, oh man, that's awesome. And then like when I was in Ohio, I had a buck at 45, 50 yards, and he had to take like, then he finally came around, and he was 30, 35 yards away or so. One more step, and he'd cleared this bush, and he was coming to check me out because I was calling to him and whatnot. And then that hot doe came back through, and then the whole place blows up, and he's gone. Like, I would think that like the cruising is like the predictable portion of it where, anything can happen when they're chasing.
Oh, I agree. I mean, cruising is more optimal for the hunter, but based on my experience, the last 2 years, I haven't seen squat. I mean, so I said I saw a 140-ish class buck. It was the only thing I saw. He was cruising on my left side when I'm in my saddle, and he's walking like a 70 yards away, and he's walking right behind me. I grunt at him, and he doesn't stop. Grunt again, nothing. I snort, wheeze, and dude stops in his tracks. He postures up and then slowly starts walking into this thicket. And I was like, I knew I was burned at that point because based on my experience, I mean, he's just going to bust through that thicket, and then he's going to walk right behind me to catch the wind. And that's exactly what I did. After about 3 minutes, I just kept watching behind me. I finally saw his legs, and then he steps out and he gets straight downwind, and he looks my way for about 2 minutes trying to figure out where it's coming from, and he slowly starts to walk away. So I grunt one more time just to see what happens, to see if I can get him fired up. That joker took off like a bat out of hell. He was gone. So I get what you're saying, but I also think if they are chasing, I think they're dumb as rocks because they're so focused on getting that female and getting her that they don't pay as much attention to the wind and some other things, because obviously their mind is on most things the guys are thinking about anyway, and they're not thinking about getting in any type of danger. They're just focused on that doe. So a lot of the deer I've killed during the rut is based on I've just screamed at them. I can't get them to stop, so sometimes you just scream at them, and if you can get them to stop in that window and you can study your shot, you can kill that sucker. So I'm not opposed to doing that, but when they're cruising, yeah, it's got to be the right situation. If they got to be close enough and stuff like that, that's great. But that buck still had his wits about him, and I've had that happen a few times. I get them to do something, and then they go downwind and win me, and it's pretty much over. The buck I shot last Friday, I was on full draw at him a week earlier, and I had him at 20, 25 yards. He was walking, following some does, going out into a field at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and the does weren't hot yet. He was just, there was no chasing. He was just following them, like waiting for it to happen. And I grunted at him too. and he didn't move. And then I snort wheezed at him, and he came right back in. I just never could get a shot at him. And then a week later, this past Friday, he was. I saw the does, and I see him following basically the same scenario. He was following those does again, not chasing, just kind of keep. It was like he was their bodyguard, and gave me a shot opportunity, and I took care of him. And the doe he was one of the does that he was bodyguarding, she didn't want to leave either, so she was being nosy, so she had to go in the back of my truck also.
So, like for our listener, then, like, kind of maybe, it's damn near 2 hours right now. So maybe like a parting shot. Like, what do when normally we would say, like, what's your bow setup, blah blah blah. We've been through that. I mean, this is old hat for you by this point. It's round 2. So, like, what tips would you have for like this time of year for like peak rut for that chasing phase type? Like, what are your setups, or like what would you say? Okay, this is where I've been successful. This is what I look for. This is how I get it. Or are you just saying, okay, well, I just want deer sign. I want a bunch of doe.
No.
Do you ever sit all day?
You said it. Well, there's many options here, obviously, but you said it earlier. My plan is the next 3 days, I'm going to go get in, and I'm going to play the wind based on bedding. I'm going to try to get tight in bedding, or area. And here's the deal: I'm going into Kentucky. I've hunted this area a little bit, but I don't have super knowledge on it. So I'm going into pinch points where I know that deer, based on sign from the past or sign, like I'm going to try and scout a little bit tomorrow before I hunt the afternoon or the evening. But I'm going to get in tight to some thick stuff, like where I know I'm fairly confident, just on experience. I could totally be wrong, but based on experience on where does should typically be in bedding, and some pinch points, and the buck that I saw at 70 yards, I was hunting on a saddle, not in my Phantom tethered saddle, but on a legit saddle on a ridge. And that dude I was in the right spot. I was just too far away.
So
And
how tight is tight to bedding?
I was probably 50 yards from that. I think it just depends on the situation. I mean, here's the deal. We can say you should be 10 yards or 20 yards. I think it's all situational, and you got to go with what the land gives you. And obviously, depending on how you're hunting, if you're hunting out of a saddle, you're able to get in a little bit more tree. But if you're in a lock-on, which is still pretty much, you can get in a lot of trees, or if you're in a climber, unless you're a Rodney, bringing a ladder stand all the way through the woods to set up. I mean, that's different, but I think it's a situational thing. So here's what I would do different, based on, I made a mistake in my opinion. So when I was on, there's a big just thicket that I knew was holding does. Actually, the reason I know that is I had a Tacticam reveal camera, which I'm not plugging them because I make anything. I just now got them. I stuck in there to see, and there were deer coming in there left and right. And I had one buck coming in the last 2 mornings just before shooting light. So that's where I went my last day there. And I sat in the middle of the saddle, like I was square in the middle of the saddle. Now that buck was cruising the side of the saddle. And as soon as, I'll just tell you what I did. As soon as I had that encounter with him, my thought was, okay, that's the way the wind's going. They're not coming through the saddle. They're coming on the edge of it. You know how a lot of bucks will go midway down a ridge or halfway down. They won't come to the top and be skyline and stuff like that. So as soon as that happened and I had that encounter, I hate to do it because I'm always afraid that another deer's going to come on me or walk by. I took everything down. I tore everything down and I moved about 50 yards over. So where I was not in the middle of the saddle anymore, I was on the side of it. I never saw another deer that day. I hunted till noon. I was there before daylight, and he came in about 45 minutes after daylight, and I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be on. I thought I was going to be all over it, and it was just part of it. So I think that that's the thing. I think you can't be afraid. I don't think you have to be afraid to move. If the deer are on one path, or typically, and if you've witnessed that a little bit, get up and move. You might get busted, sure, but at the same time, if they're not coming down your path or in your area, you got to put yourself in a better position to where they might be coming from. And I've heard guys say, "Hey, I've already had six shooters walk by, but they're just out of range." And I'll say, "Well, are they? What are they doing? Oh, they're walking down the same path. Well, they're doing that for a reason. Get your butt up and move." That's my opinion.
Yeah, you get some good video footage, but
Well,
no shots.
and that's why I was asking you, because so twice now over this past week, I've been set up, and the first time I knew I needed to be further out in there, and I didn't move, and then that's where I saw the deer, but man, when I was at full draw at that one just the other day, I was 52 yards from the edge, and I needed to be 30 yards. I'm just realizing, I think that because I killed a buck 2 years ago, 200 yards from there, and I was 10 yards from the edge, and that's right. I mean, I killed him at 25, but he was 10 yards from the edge of the thick shit, and I was thinking, while I was up there, and all these deer did the same thing, took that same path, and I was like, I needed to be closer. But in the moment when I was walking up there was Rodney and all of his cousins and brothers and uncles and grandmas have their stands in there, and I can tell that they're gun stands or crossbow stands or whatever, because they're 60, 80 yards, 100 yards from the edge of the stuff. So they're shooting their long weapons into the thick shit. But I knew I needed to be closer, but I wasn't close enough, and that's why I was asking if you have a comfort zone in that situation.
I think it's all situational. Some of it is feeling. Yeah, some of it is visually what you're seeing. It's easy for me to sit here, obviously, and say, yeah, I got up and moved because I saw this buck do this. It was only one buck. If I'd seen other bucks come on the other side, I could, or if I was getting down and a buck busted me that was a shooter, you could say, "Oh, you screwed up." I'd second guess myself, but just being a hunter and being out in the woods as much as I have, and a lot of it is intuition and going on experience. I'm going to screw up a lot, and there's a lot of times that I might, and I have made the wrong decision, but I think that it's easy to overthink things too and second guess yourself and all that. That's super easy to do. I think a lot of it goes on the wind, playing the wind. If you're going to hunt a bedding area, I think you have to play it up for the bucks to cruise downwind of that, and you got to put yourself in a situation to be able to take that shot. And if you do, let's say you do that, and you witness a few bucks taking the same path, they're getting something that you're not seeing or smelling or whatever, obviously. So I think that's when you got to get up and move, and maybe you're too close and you go further. I mean, you guys know, how many times have you watched the Weather Channel app or whatever app you're using, and the wind's supposed to be doing one thing, but it's swirling or going 4 different directions in 20 minutes. And I mean, sometimes those things are just, you can't help. But I think you got to go with experience and your knowledge and make a decision and do it. If it doesn't feel good, don't do it. Just don't overthink it. I think we as hunters tend to overthink things, or we out clever ourselves when we're not very clever to begin with, especially me. But you know, and another thing is, what I like to do, and I've had a little bit of experience. I'm not going to say it's been always money for me. Hunt the hunters, hunt those Rodneys out there, right, John? Hunt
Right.
the Rodneys, and what they're doing may help you, and hunt based on, okay. So if they're upwind and these deer have a chance to smell them, go to where they're going to be away from them and capitalize on them circling around those Elmer Fudd guys, and use that to your advantage.
Right. That's kind of like what I was saying when I used to mark them all. Like every time I'd find a stand, it was nice because I could do that exact thing. It's like, all right, well, there's one here and here and here, and I can play it out. And then all of a sudden, now they've just kind of, there's even more of them, so it's getting a little tighter. But yeah, definitely, that's great advice. Hunt the hunter.
Yeah, and I think that I know we gotta get off. We've been going for a while, but yeah, I think a lot of people only think about hunting the deer, but there's other things out in the woods, and you got to take that into consideration. If there's other hunters out there, the deer are going to adjust, and you have to adjust too.
That's the whole thing, and like adjusting is very nuanced, right? So one of the things I was going to say is like, that experience piece, like the same guys kill deer every year, all the time, consistently. And so it's not like, well, you can't say everything is situational if you haven't been in that situation, And so that's where, like, and maybe like to John's point with the 11% increase and the more stands and the everything, we are essentially shooting ourselves in the foot by, saying, oh, you can use base map and it'll show you where the wind is and where everything is. You can mark all these other stands. You can do all this other stuff. And, there's people popping up in places that they've never been. And then you listen to all the podcasts out there that are telling you, like, these are the things that you need to look for,
right.
And now you've got guys all over top of you. And it gets a lot more, there's more guys out there going the extra mile because they're sick of the results that they've been getting,
right.
Right.
So,
and now there's more resources.
Well, and you said I said everything is situational, and some guys, they might not have heard or excuse me, have experienced that before, but that's where I think trying to gain as much knowledge as you can by listening to podcasts of really good hunters or experiences, and trying to soak in as much knowledge as you can. Like, I'm never going to be topped out as a hunter. I'm always learning, and if you don't have the mindset of you're always needing to learn, I think that you're limiting yourself. Like, just life lesson number one as a human being. There's always something to learn. There's always new things, and I think you have to listen and surround yourself, even with bad knowledge. I've learned so much from guys that do it the wrong way, and I'll learn that, hey, that's not the way I need to do it, and I mark that off of my list of things that I should or shouldn't do. Right. So, but the biggest thing is experience. I'm a better hunter today because I've learned how not to do things from mistakes, and just being out in the woods and experiencing, watching these deer and their movements and their habits. And if I make a noise, or if I call to them or whatever, seeing their body language, that stuff's huge. I mean, and that's everything in life. Again, experience is key. And for the inexperienced hunter, some guys come out and have success right away, but that doesn't make them a good hunter.
Makes them lucky.
and I don't claim to be. I've had a lot of luck in my life, and I'm not ashamed of it. But at the same time, I don't look at that and say, oh yeah, I'm good. It's not about being good. It's about enjoying myself, having fun, and gaining knowledge and trying to get better. That's what it comes down to.
I think I'm just such a bad hunter that everything is luck, and it just ends up being, like, I get luckier the more I do it. So maybe
Well,
I'm
it's
getting
called
better.
experience.
But every time it happens, I'm like, no shit, like that never happens. Like, what's going on? So I like I said, I always just try and view everything like from the listener's perspective of like people that are like trying to learn. That's what I'm trying to. I mean,
Just to everybody out there listening, don't do what we do. Just go out and be a Rodney, and you'll be lucky, and you'll kill monster buck. There's 150 inch around every corner.
Well, that seems a bit ring true. Rodney's always killed the Dukes.
If I thought that people would actually listen to this episode, I would name it Rodneys and Dukes with Adrian Wilson. But
Well, hey, here's proof right here. My biggest buck ever was my first buck kill ever. And that was nothing but luck. It was with a rifle. I'm sitting in the stand at first light, and I'm like, you know what? I think I'm going to rattle. I don't know what I'm doing. And I rattle, and this joker comes running in out of a thicket. I don't even know what the wind was. I didn't play the wind back then. No, but to my defense, I was probably taking 3 showers before I went and hunted and used every Scentaway product out there. So wind didn't matter, right? And this deer comes running in at 60 yards, and I put him down. I don't even know what I've got. I'm a new hunter at this point, because if you guys remember, I didn't start hunting until I was like 28 years old. I killed that joker my first year hunting, and it's still my big bow, gun, muzzleloader, slingshot, whatever, my biggest buck to date. So, and that's the only one I ever scored. And he's like 144, 145 and change.
so just to further that, did you go and do the same thing on the next hunt and the next hunt and the next hunt? Did you just rattle your ass off like every time because that was what worked for you?
Hell yeah, of course I did. I was a rattling fool. I was waiting for them all to come running in just like that dude did. And the funny thing is, that year, back then, Tennessee had a 3-buck limit. I don't know how many good bucks I rattled in that year that I just flat out missed. I mean, like, I thought that was the way to go. Man, all you got to do is get you some rattling horns or a rattle bag, and these jokers just come running to you.
You probably were the expert too. Like all I did was rattle, and here they come.
Oh yeah, I could imagine it. If only I was on Facebook back then, I'd be telling everybody how to kill deer.
This is what you got to do.
4 showers, Scentaway spray, rattle bag. Oh my gosh!
Oh my, Tink 69 in a half hour shape around your stand. Don't worry about anything downwind, because we're not playing the wind, because you've showered all these times. Yes, and that's hilarious. That is so money right there. You know how many guys are on Facebook talking about their big buck kill because they did this, that. Yeah, that would have been me.
Man, I'm so disappointed that there's no ATA, that we're not going to get to hang out and drink some beers this year.
I know, that's why you guys are going to come and hunt Tennessee during turkey season, and we'll drink beers and then hunt a little bit of the time.
You just give us some dates, man. I'm in.
That's easy. All right, it's done. It's done. I mean, we've got this recorded. Don't you edit this out of the podcast, Adam.
Well,
I got you too, John. So.
Right. Well, I was just telling my wife, I'm like, after watching the Hunting Public, is like, go down to Tennessee. You can get your license for a spring turkey. Then you come back in the fall for a fall turkey, plus you get 2 buck tags and then the doe tags as long as you're in the right area. It's like, well,
you can book it.
so,
Turkey season and next deer season, wherever THP guys hunted this past week, which I won't name it, but everybody locally will know where it's at. Is going to get hammered.
right. Oh, yeah.
Hammered.
For sure.
So, but I mean, that's only part of what we're doing anyway. We mentioned the beer drinking part, so we can get that taken care of pretty easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, you guys always have a place to stay. Just come whenever you want to.
Yeah, I
You know
mean,
that.
with all the polos that we do, I've seen your garage. There's plenty of room.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's no room in the garage. It's all junk that I learned that I don't need to be a hunter type stuff.
A lot of tree stands.
I've been trying to sell those. I'm a pack rat, man. Like those tree stands might come in handy one day, even though I don't have any private land. But it's wishful thinking that hey, I'll have some private land. I'll put all these stands up there and just have a quick hunt after work or whatever. But at the end of the day, man, I'm not anti stands at all. I mean, I think they're awesome, but I've just been saddle hunting for so long now. That's just kind of it just feels good.
Yeah, I mean, it's getting to be that way for me. Like, I've been in so many trees that I've been like, well, I'm the worst tree chooser ever. But I've been in so many trees that I could have got it in a climber. And I'm like, well, it's just less to pack in and all that stuff. And then I've been in so many trees that I'm like, that's a great tree. I could never get in that with a climber. And then I get up there and I got branches in front of me and everywhere. I'm like, son of a bitch. Like, that's a learning curve for me. And
Have you noticed? I've caught myself doing this when I first started saddle hunting. I'm sitting there thinking, oh, I can get in any tree ever. It doesn't matter what it has. 100 branches? Shoot, I can get through that and sit in it. But then at the end of the day, I still found myself climbing the straight up and down trees that didn't have any branches because that's what I was used to in a climber. Did you guys do that?
Oh yeah, and then I climb up to the same spot that I would climb into climber, so I climb right into the canopy or like into the forks and stuff. And then when you set your tether and you're like, well, this is stupid. Like, this is the worst place ever. Yes.
Oh yeah, we need to do or you guys need to do a podcast on just stinking what not to do as a hunter.
Well, I feel like that's what every episode is.
Right.
Well, I mean, that's you, Adam. John and I laugh at you behind your back. But we're going to play along and act like we're with you. Are you kidding me? My whole life as a hunter is a whole bunch of what not to do's. Golly.
Well, but people don't say that. They don't. I mean, I think that's why people like to listen to us is because it's either like listen to these fools or they're like, well, I'm better than that guy. Like, it's just, because in this day and age, people don't like to show failure. They don't like to say that they don't know everything, and like, fuck, I'm the biggest like self-deprecation. Like, I'll show you what not to do. Like, I still have a knot on my head from like the other, like maybe 3 days ago. I climbed up again, picked the tree, climb up there, set my tether, and I grab the tether and I tighten up the prusik so I'm out of my lineman's loops, and I fucking knot my head right on this branch, like that's right in my face. And I'm like, oh, this is gonna be an awful sit, like, yeah. Every time, like.
But at the end of the day, like, we're sitting here talking and listeners are listening in, and you got to give them something they can relate to. I am with Tethered. I've been surrounded and I've been lucky to have really good friends and people that are known to the hunting community, but I don't. I'd like to think I'm a real person from the standpoint as, if I'm going to help anybody in anything I've done, is I'm going to show them my failures, and there's way more failures than positives and successes. But I don't sit there and I learn from my failures, but I don't sit there and worry about them other than trying to perfect the mistakes I make. So I think the blue collar guy, like we are, really relates to that. Like, I'm not getting on here, and I'm not saying any names, and I'm not saying this in a way to point or call anybody out, but I don't get on this show and sit there and say, my name is Adrian Wilson, and I've killed X amount of bucks, and so many are Pope and Young, and I've done it for this amount of time, and I'm really good, because I'm not. I've had some success, yeah, and I don't mind telling you that, and I'll tell you what made me successful, or how that luck played its part into it. But at the same time, let me show you what I did and what not to do, so you won't make the same mistake or what have you. Because at the end of the day, people love hunting and want to harvest animals, whether they're mature or not. And if I can help them in some way or give them a laugh along the way, I'll be happy to do it.
You there's no shortage of laughs with you, man. And I mean, with you, the takeaways from this are, it's either situational, and you got to know, or just rattle them in. Like, those are the two things that I took away.
Yeah. Hey, look. You can finish this episode up right here. At the end of the day, if all else fails, rattle those bastards in. Every time, 100% done. You're going to kill a booner. You're going to kill a booner.
Rattle, grunt, snort, wheeze.
Oh, snort. Hey, I'm going to tell you, don't forget about the snort wheeze, because especially, I killed one buck 3 years ago that I snort wheezed, that was going into a thicket 60 yards away, and I snort wheezed, and I learned from this. And I'd love to give somebody credit for it, because I don't remember where I heard it or if I saw it on a video. I snort wheeze when this joker went, and it stopped him. He didn't stop on the grunts. The snort wheeze stopped him, but he then continued to go into the thicket, and I was in my saddle. And I waited for about 4 or 5 minutes, watching behind me where the wind was going, and he came out, and I killed that joker because he was going downwind to win me. This was during the rut. It was, a matter of fact, I can tell you the date. It was November the 13th, and I'll never forget that. And that's always stuck out in my mind. I heard that from somewhere. Again, I wish I could give somebody credit for it, but I don't remember where I heard it or saw it. And I killed that deer because I waited on it to come downwind, and it came downwind at like 14 yards. And I stuck it with a NAP kill zone, baby.
Oh my gosh, that's enough. I've had enough of this guy. We're gonna no more nap kill zone success stories on this podcast. This will be the last one. Adrian, I appreciate your time, but get that shit out of here. So,
well, I'm like I said, I'm in Kudu's and Iron Wheel now.
So where can everybody follow along with all of your stuff? I mean, I know you're on the Tethered Nation YouTube, you're in the THP, you're in Catman's videos, but where can they follow along if they just want more rattling and scent control?
Well, that's my premium account. That's a paid account. I will have to give that information out to the select few that might want to pay me for that. But other than that, if you just want to follow along, I have a public Instagram under Big A Sports. Come and follow me there. I'm on Facebook, Adrian Wilson. I'll add you if you friend request me. I don't really post a lot on there just because I don't. Instagram is my jam, and that's about it. if you're lucky, or if I'm lucky, I might be able to score a podcast or two here and there when they need to fill some spots, stuff like that.
And don't forget BillyCurringtonMusic.com. He's got some great songs.
Change the tunes for I like drinking beer or whatever to like I like killing deer.
I'm
I'm
not a songwriter, but John, you and I need to hook up, brother. In a songwriting type of way. Just to clarify.
Yeah, right.
Well, that's gonna close this one out, man. So that's all we got.
Oh man, this was a marathon, and I feel like I could keep going. But boys, y'all have a good rest of your evening, and I will be in contact and let you know what's going on with me, and hopefully I can send you some big slammer picks of Kentucky and anything else that I rattle in the rest of the year.
Perfect, man.
Sounds
Thank
good.
you.
All right, boys, y'all have a good night.
Thank you.